Hi everyone, it's Amy and I'm back with another episode of Vintage Made Modern. Today we're going to talk about a thimble full of character. This is episode 11 and I'm going to open to chapter 10 in the Vintage Notions book, and we're going to talk about the opening essay and some of the embroidery that you can see here. So this is October, and one of my favorite times of year, if not my favorite season of the year. You'll see this fun little poem. I'm going to read it to you, then I'm going to show you where the embroidery came from. "Come, little leaves," said the wind one day, "come over the meadows with me and play. Put on your dresses of brown and gold, for summer has gone and the winds blow cold." And that was from Inspiration, October 1924. So where did I find the image of the leaves? This is a tablecloth that I bought at a vintage sale. And you can see here this maple leaf. I believe it's a maple leaf. And as well as, I wanted to open up and show you the acorn cross stitch. So this is cross stitch. And you can see, and actually last month we did a little video in the Vintage Made Modern episode about cross stitch. So here you can see the acorns as well, which I don't know about you, but this time of year I love to go out and look for acorns. So that is our embroidery that went along with the inspiration poem that I just read. And I did have another issue that I just got in the mail not too long ago that had such a beautiful graphic from for fall, and this was a September issue, but I wanted to share just that graphic with you. So this is September 1921, one of the more rare issues that I have in my collection. All right, let's get back to the book, and we're going to move on to talk about some things for Halloween. In the opening essay and in the Department of Housekeeping, we talk about Halloween being pure and simple fun. That's what it's about, having fun at Halloween. So here you can see on this page, I absolutely loved the costumes. They're so creative. You can see there's various versions of different costumes and ideas, everything from the modern witch, as well as the Lady Luck. I believe this is Lady Luck. You can see there's a horseshoe on her skirt and a four-leaf clover, hence Lady Luck. Here we have, I believe this one is our Charleston Belle. And then, of course, the little black cat as well with the large bow that they mentioned. So Halloween's such a fun time of year to decorate and do fun activities with your family. You can see we have Making Merry on Halloween and ideas for a Halloween party in the book as well. So the graphics you see throughout here, you'll see some on the recipes page. We've got some really cute silhouettes of a witch there and a cat and this fun Happy Halloween graphic that actually came from a vintage postcard. So I thought it'd be fun to share with you guys a few of my vintage postcards that are in my larger collection beyond the Women's Institute material. So a while back, we did a lot of fun projects under the brand The Vintage Workshop. And this was one of the projects that what we had done is taken maybe a postcard like this, scanned it and blown it up, and then you can see the fun rickrack and the buttons on the corners. So again, just some fun things to get you in the spirit. I also thought, well, why not share some of our Indigo Junction patterns with you that are fun for Halloween. First and foremost, we have our pumpkin trio pattern that offers you some various pumpkins. This one we did like in a white canvas, cream canvas, and you can add your own pumpkin stem, which This year, I'm telling you, keep the stems off your pumpkins. You dry them out, and then you can make pumpkins next year with our pattern and put them on your fabric pumpkins. Or another option, of course, would be to just use a stick as your stem. And this shows you the other version we have in this pattern, which is exposed seam dimension on the pumpkin. And one other thing I wanted to show you about this pattern is my mom actually developed this idea to make a stem where she essentially pleated the fabric, and you can find more about that if you buy the pattern. So here is plaid, another fun fabric to make your pumpkins out of. So lots of pumpkin fun that we have in this episode. Other Indigo Junction patterns I thought I'd share with you. First off, of course, Fabriflare. We always have fun with Fabriflare. And this is a radiant star. And you can see here, I'll turn it, and you can see right here a little graphic of a little boy with two little pumpkins, of course. And he actually was one of these Raphael Tuck postcards where we took that image and we put it in a fabric line that we designed a few years ago. So, and you'll even see Women's Institute graphics in that fabric line. So again, this is a fun project to make. It is what we call our Radiant Star, which you can buy as a kit, or you can buy actually as a pattern, and that's called the Centerpiece Star. Let me grab a couple more of the patterns under here that I wanted to show you, and then we'll get back to the Vintage Notions book. But Halloween's so much fun, I thought this is our chance to share these with you. Here's the pumpkin trio, which I showed you earlier. You also get the pattern to make the leaf and the vine. Here's a fun one called I Love My Mummy. And it comes with the pillow as well as the mummy doll. Legs Celebrate with, you've got your witch legs, which here in Kansas you could also make them Wizard of Oz, Dorothy style. And then one more, the Woody and Sam. Woody, one of our former cats in our family, fondly named that pattern after Woody, and Sam the owl. So those are some creative ideas for you to stitch up in fabric. And now back to Vintage Notions. And the magic pattern this month is a nightgown, and it's embellished with bias trim. And you can see there's a little, well, here it is on this side. You can see the flower that is part of the pattern. And I'm going to actually show you that flower and how we've modernized it. Remember, this is vintage made modern. So bias being a vintage trim or notion, of course, it's Vintage Notions, right? So here's an example of how you can use bias to actually make applique. And we not only put it on this gingham pillow, which I think is just fun in that yellow, and we also have just a denim, inexpensive denim bag that we added the bias to. So bias tape. Now let's look at some of my vintage collection of bias tape. And that'll refer back to, in the book, the page that has this graphic, and it is called Colorful Effects from Bias Tape. And you can see here that embellishing garments, making a flower, and then we have some images of actual vintage bias trims. So what I thought I'd do is show you these samples and tell you a little more about bias tape and some of the materials I have. Prized possessions in my vintage collection, and one of them is this Barton's book. And what you'll see here is, I'm going to open it up and quickly go through it. This is a little leaflet that tells about bias and the new double fold version that they're invented, new way. And these are examples of the pieces that you'd seen in the book. Okay, and they this bias actually had an added edge of trim. So not only were you finishing the edge with a color, but you were also getting this decorative edge and this blanket stitch as part of your bias. So that's really unusual. And this gives you an example of how, you know, the bias helps you on curves. That's one of the main purposes of why people enjoy using bias tape, is it's much easier to do a curve when the fabric's cut on the bias. So this was another fun little salesman sample, I believe. Here was the little package that the samples came in. And then this was extra fun to find. These little cards that came in this package recommended different sewing patterns for your bias. This one is from Ladies Home Journal, a little girl's dress. This is a buttrick pattern that they're recommending. Smart dresses with smart bindings. This is the Excella pattern, again with a lady's dress. And here we have a pictorial review pattern, how fast they grow. So, and of course, you always want to have a lovely house dress when it comes to keeping house these days. So that's something fun I wanted to share with you. Now, there are other brands out there in my collection. Some of them include Wrights, and I quickly will show you the Wrights catalog. This little treasures in my collection, and it gives you all the different types of bias that they offered, everything from gingham check to the solids, double and single fold. So this is an example of single fold that's flat, and then you would fold it over, or double fold is already pre-folded. I don't know that I can actually show you that very well, but you get the idea. And then this little card, this was from Coates & Clark, and they actually put patterns inside the bias card cards. And this is a little apron pattern that you can see is inside there, and all the instructions were on the back. A couple packages this in my collections. This is the early Bartons, and then this is a Trimtex version. So one more thing, I love the Wrights bias books, and we've used some of these graphics in the Vintage Notions book. So this was a whole series of books that gave you ideas on how to use bias in your sewing projects and how to apply them, how to make, actually they had a pattern insert that came with it. I wanted to get to the color page. This was the one I wanted to make sure I shared with you guys. So you see the little girls' dresses are really fun with the added embellishment of bias tape. So I think we've probably covered just about everything we can cover today. So I want to again thank you for watching. And please, if you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and again, follow us via our e-newsletter and keep in touch. Thanks so much.